Hi guys, it's Friday waffle time. Just wanted to touch on a few things today. I've had a pretty busy week doing bits and bobs. First thing to touch on is I did a bit of a comparison flight between these two guys. This is the Zero S5 Split Edition and my little Zero S3M, just really comparing how they flew side by side to each other. If you've watched the previous videos, you'll know that the S3 is seriously quick, almost too quick. It's an absolute little monster, but it is really easy to fly at the same time, whereas this guy is an absolute joy to fly. We'll turn on a sixpence, stop and start in a blink of an eye. It's an absolute yeah, it's just so fun to fly. My one concern about it using these 2204 motors was that it seemed to not have a huge amount of top end speed. I mean, it was certainly fast, but it felt a little bit slower than some of the other fast quads that I've flown. And at the time I was using the HQ V1S 5x4 tri-blades, and at the time I said I expected dual blades to be faster, and a few guys commented in the videos saying pretty much the same thing. I haven't been able to get the props that I wanted, so just as a standby, temporarily I was planning just to run it on these are the DAL 5045 V2s, which are quite heavy actually, surprisingly so. And I haven't really had a chance to test it. I mooched around with my son last Sunday, but I was only sort of tootling because I was flying with him. In terms of the footage, this is what kind of I saw. The footage wasn't what I wanted it to be, basically for two reasons. One, it was really windy, and two, flying at that sort of speed, I was really sort of pushing the edge of my ability, which meant that I really couldn't get the same line over and over again. So this is what I saw anyway. The Zero S3 is faster in a straight line, no two ways about it. Not hugely faster, but faster full stop. However, the Zero S5 is easier to fly at that sort of speed than the Zero S3M. If you watch the footage, I was running camera angles of probably 60-65 degrees, and even at that sort of camera angle I was really struggling to keep this guy down. As you can probably see in the footage, I just kept sort of under full throttle. I was kind of having to have its nose facing the ground, and even then I was still gaining altitude. And that's the problem with these very small light quads. While they're blindingly fast, it's very difficult, certainly at my skill level, to fly them that way. In terms of this guy, it was a lot easier to control even at full throttle. As you probably saw in the video, I had some vibrations, and that was because at the time I was running the V1S props, and they were pretty damaged. So that vibration you saw wasn't tuning or anything like that. It's just a bad set of props, and I didn't have any spare ones. So this is what I would say: if you're watching this video and you want to be a proper racer, and you want to go out to a track and race other people, and you want the fastest quad to do it, this is the one that you would want out of these two. And the reason for that is, while it's not as fast in a straight line as this guy, it's far easier to run at high speed, and you still gain huge amounts of manoeuvrability, the ability to spin on a corner, and it remains controllable at all times. This guy, in the hands of somebody absolutely amazing, you could probably do really well with, but for most of us, you're going to win a lot more races with this than you would do with this. This chap is just mental, and it's an absolute blast to fly. The thing I like about it is, because it's so small and it carries so little weight, it's really easy to fly, because as soon as you back off the throttle, you pretty much lose momentum straight away. So it's quite easy to fly. This is going to kind of contradict myself, but This is an absolute joy to fly and really easy to fly in normal flying, but where it loses out is in precision. Um, because it's so fast and because obviously it's so light and it gets affected more by the wind, if you're trying to get this through a tiny gap, you'd probably struggle far more than you would this. But in normal flying, where you're whizzing around a field or through trees or whatever at a normal sort of speed, a fast normal speed, it's an absolute blast. But in terms of why do most professional racers use 5" or 4" and not 3", even though quite clearly they're just as fast, is because it's easier to control. So I'm not sure how useful that was. This is running the HG LRC stack, which if you've watched previous videos you know I had problems with the pads being ripped off, and at the time you couldn't buy replacement parts, which really bugged me, so I gave it a bit of a pasting. The good news on this is you can now buy the ESC separately and the flight controller separately in a slightly upgraded version. I think it's called the 428 as opposed to the 425, but anyway, it's the same thing. They're both clipped together. And what I've done on this one is I've basically just reinforced the battery pads as much as I can with both hot glue and zip ties, so there's no stress going on the connection point. So that's that. Let's get these out of the way. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention while I was here is I got this the other day, which is the Lumineer, I think it's called the Axe 2 or the Axie 2, which is really a tiny antenna. And from what I can see, this seems to get really good reviews. I mean, it was fairly expensive, but the reason why this caught my eye and the reason why I'm so excited about it is, if you've noticed, when I originally built this, I had a whip antenna on it. And I don't really like whip antennas. They're fine for kind of open fields and things like that, but as soon as you head behind trees, you start to struggle. And the one issue I had with both of these guys is because on this frame you've got this rear standoff. As you can see, I've had to, when I put on this really battered Emax Pagoda, I had to kind of like zip tie left, right and centre to get it out of the way of the props. Whereas with this, you can simply zip tie it right in, and this thing weighs less than 2 grams, whereas this weighs about 6 grams, and the TBS unified pigtail that I've added weighs another, I think, 3 or 4 grams. So I've added quite a lot of weight with this, and this will make for a much cleaner build, both on the 3" and the 5". And if it gives similar performance to a Pagoda antenna or something like that, then on these superlights this is going to be my antenna of choice, because it's going to make things so much easier. So the other thing that's been on my channel recently was the Devil, and as you can see here, I haven't really gone too far. This is running a SpeedX 4-in-1 ESC, which has got its own 5-volt voltage regulator, and as you can see, I just dropped this in. I've put the capacitor beneath the battery leads, and my plan is to try this out on this particular quad. And the reason for that is, if I put the VTX, which I'm going to use the Matek VTX for, on, I can basically just run this here nicely out of the way of the props, and it's not really going to stick out or get damaged in any way. So that's my plan, and I'm hoping, even though it's sat quite close to the battery leads, if I can get pretty good signal out of it, I'll be really chuffed, because that'll answer one of the irritations I've had on all these superlight quads. So yeah, I've got the the RCX 2206 2400 kV motors on. I'm probably contradicting myself, they are quite heavy, but bearing in mind I use superlight motors on the 0S5, I thought I'd go the opposite way on this and just use some pretty powerful motors. And as I've said before, I've been really impressed with these motors. I haven't broken anything despite numerous crashes on the other ones that I've used. They've got bags of power, pretty efficient, so I haven't really got a lot more to say on that, and bearing in mind they're less than 10 quid without the warranty, you know, you're looking at half the price compared to, you know, Brother Hobby 2207s or 2306s, and you've got titanium hollow shafts, N52 magnets, all the juicy stuff that you would get on more expensive motors, and each of these parts is replaceable, so you can buy new bells and new shafts and whatever you need. So at the moment these are my motors of choice. RCX have just released a 2204 actually, which is really light, and they're mentioning performance higher than their 2205s, although whether that's just marketing nonsense I don't know. And they're also about to release a 2306, so they're both options to look out for. Final thing is, I've been messing around with another Martian Franken build. I sold the Martian that featured on my channel on eBay, and I was just playing with another one. The flight footage that I put up the other day was running a 25mm stack, and at the moment this is running a 20mm stack, and it's built around a Runcan micro. So the idea behind this was originally rather than having this higher front end section, which would allow us to obviously put a normal camera in and then drop the rest of the plate down, I thought if I used a Runcan micro, and I absolutely love these cameras, I thought it'd simplify things and mean that I wouldn't have to use two top plates to essentially build one quad. The issue that I've had, as you can see, there's tons of room inside, so I can drop this stack down further. The one issue that I had is it flies absolutely fine, but because the props run so close to the front, if you put a 3D printed action camera mount on the front and you zip tie it in, the blades themselves will clip slightly the zip ties. So I'm going to play around with this a little bit more. I mean, obviously you could just get a 3D printed camera mount made for the Martian, but that kind of narrows down everybody's options quite a bit. So I'm going to play around with this a little bit more, but probably what I'll end up doing is just doing what I did before, just cutting the top plates here. I'll probably use 25mm or 30mm standoffs at the front, and I'll drop the back down to probably 15 or 20mm. But as I said before, these Martians fly really well. This one's actually running, what's it running? It's got an F4 Flame SpeedX 30 ampere Cs. If you've seen the channel and other videos, you'll know that I use SpeedX ESCs a lot, and the reason for that is, you know, I don't know if they're the best ESCs out there. I don't know if they're the least noisy ESCs out there. What I do know is in all the flying that I've done, all the crashes that I've done, I've never ever broken a SpeedX ESC. Oh, one thing I must mention is this antenna I found down the back of my workbench, and this thing is from donkeys ago when I used to run an X210, and somewhat amusingly, this cheap cloverleaf antenna I think I got from Banggood gives absolutely amazing reception. So there you go, what do I know. Anyway guys, cheers, thanks, bye.